Hey everybody, we had a little technical difficulty. Now we're back, and Sandos was explaining something. Do you remember?
I think the discussion was about hormones.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how transphobia causes depression and causes trans people to experience suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And I was just trying to make the point that also hormones do that. Hormones also cause depression and cause a lot of those issues within a trans person, and so and I've seen that happen. I've with like again with the trans people that I've known who are like pre-op to post-op, who went from pre-hormone to full-on hormones. I've seen that transition happen where um, people who take hormones because they flip. I'm telling you, like a total flip, a total change happens in those people, and it's hard to quantify how it can affect someone. And of course when you bring in transphobia, again it's just really difficult to you're saying it's hard to put it all on society. When you're talking about what causes someone like Daphne, like we were talking about Chappelle and his friend Daphne. I think a lot of what was going on with someone like that was is different from someone. I don't know what was really going on. I mean, I know that person committed suicide. That's what we were talking about.
That's why I think this is all a debate because there's with all types of demographics, well, people think they don't know what's going on. I think I know what's going on because I think philosophically that just hate is always the problem, and if you take hate out of society then everybody's fine, right? There'll be no confusion with who people are because everybody's just accepted for who they are. Then they won't have to go on hormones, then they won't have to go crazy. Because I think, you don't think?
No, not at
So
all.
you're
I think
saying
I think
that if there
hormones.
was no such thing as transphobia, some people still might want to transition?
Yeah,
Yeah,
do you really think that's well? You really think that?
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
think
think
so too.
because the reason people transition. Well, the reason some people transition, again, I don't want to get into pejoratives or
Yeah,
generalizations,
yeah.
but again, I have to go back to the two people that I'm close to that I know who transitioned. They wanted to be women.
Yeah,
It had nothing to do with society, pressuring them into
yeah,
being something that they weren't. I mean, they really
yeah,
felt
that
on the
makes
inside that they were
sense.
women,
Right.
and so they took hormones to become women. It wasn't a societal pressure to become
Mhm.
a woman. It was that was part of the package of surgery.
Oh, can I ask you a question? Do you know if they expressed, like, in certain terms that it wasn't a choice for them or it was a choice for them?
They have said that it wasn't a choice. Like they have said that their gender was not a choice. Like wanting, like feeling like as men. They have said that being a woman, feeling like a woman on the inside, that was not a choice, and
No, right.
that and
I
that
mean
is
the transition, the surgery. Did the surgery feel like a choice or not? That's what I meant. Sorry. Because, right.
oh,
I
okay.
mean, who somebody is obviously isn't a choice,
Um,
right?
I think they felt evil, so I think that they may not have described it as a choice, but it really was a choice. I think they felt. I think they both people that I can talk about felt like it was a necessary evil. That was something that they had to do. So I felt like, so in some sense, no, they felt like like they were kind of forced to do it. But again, like they were trying to conform into society's idea of a woman. So that's why they did it. So I mean,
Right.
it was a choice. Do you know what I'm saying? So I mean,
Yes.
so
Well,
it's complicated.
right. But then you say they're trying to conform to society's idea. So you're saying that maybe if they didn't have to conform, then maybe they wouldn't have transitioned. If society accepts
Wow.
people for who they are, then people are just they're happy with who they are,
Do
and
you
then
really think so society accepts, so let's go to your fantasy, let's go to your world where society accepts people for who they are. Do you still think that there won't be men who feel like they are women?
um
You think there won't be are you saying that there won't be people who transition their genders if we accept people as who they are?
I mean, it'll probably happen less because I just know that talking to other gay people who know trans people that they've seen a lot of both where they've seen plenty of people that were happy with the transition and then plenty of people that weren't happy. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like it's both where you probably will always have the people that they feel the need to fully transition to be happy despite what society says, but then there's the people that did transition to fit into a box so that they were less attacked and so that they could check a box comfortably and without people making them feel weird. It has to do with both where
Okay.
there's people that
I said I kind of don't want to split hairs over that. I think there's some truth in what you're saying. I just don't want to split hairs over it. I don't want to argue over it. You know what I mean?
no,
Because I think
yeah,
there's
it's
truth in what you're
true,
saying,
right,
but
and it's
I
like
think
not
there's truth
even
in what you're saying.
yeah, because it's like not even for us to really
No,
argue because we're not
no,
even trans people.
we're not
we have to be
trans, right?
very we have to be very like cognizant
Aware of
that
what we're saying.
yeah, cognizant that really it doesn't matter what we say because we're not trans and
Right.
we're just a couple of gay guys.
Yeah.
But
Now let's talk about that because when I
okay.
met you, you weren't gay.
Okay. Right. I was just because I grew up Mormon and going through all this stuff and I finally was comfortable, right. Yeah. Cuz it took
Because
me
when
a
I met
while
you,
because
when
yeah.
I met you, when I met you, I thought you were straight. I did think you were. So I always think everyone's straight until they actually like put a dick in their mouth. You know what I mean? Like I just think everyone is straight until they say or do otherwise. But
Yeah.
I thought you were straight, so I knew you were Mormon. But like you know, what was that? What was that like for you being a gay Mormon?
Just it's very hard because you can't even like talk about anything because like when I was growing up, I basically discovered sex all on my own and through school and media. Parents, Mormon parents basically pretend like sex doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean?
Really,
Yeah,
really.
because it's that, whatever taboo of a subject, I guess, that
Okay.
people are cuz in an oppressed society, yeah, like people don't even want to go there because there's not a culture of going there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and
Right.
so everything is just awkwardly discovered, you know?
Right.
Um, like I always joke about how I accidentally discovered masturbation through this vibrating pen.
I don't know this joke. Tell me this joke.
Well, it's not a joke, it's the truth. My sister had this vibrating pen, and I joke about how it fell in my lap by accident. Well, like, I don't know if it was by accident or I wanted it in my lap. And so, yeah, that's basically, and I remember it was 1997 because Princess Diana had just died.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow. It's a very specific memory for you.
yeah. Our attic had just been redone. Anyway. Well, and I think I'm kind of bisexual, so that's why it took me a while because I was somewhat comfortable being straight, quote unquote, because I am
Uh,
kind of bisexual. So that's also what made it so I was 29 when I came out. Yeah.
but I never had to come out. I was a very like I grew up in South growing up in South Carolina. It was interesting because my mother put me in conversion therapy in high school. She sent me to these Pentecostal deacons whose job it was to kind of straighten me out because I was quite effeminate as a kid, and I was into I was into more girly things, and I was just effeminate.
Uh-huh.
And so my family interpreted that as being me being a homosexual.
Uh-huh.
And I always say those two are mutually exclusive, because I wasn't necessarily gay just because I was effeminate, and
Yeah.
I've been sexually involved with women. I've never been in a relationship with a woman. I've never dated a woman, but I've been with women and enjoyed it. I don't really. I mean, I have no problem with anyone calling me gay. I'm not real, but I don't really call myself gay anymore. I mean, I'm really
Okay.
trade. You know what trade is?
No.
Trade is kind of like pansexual. It's an old
Oh,
school
okay.
term meaning that you're up for whatever. Which
Oh,
is kind
okay.
of true. I am kind of up for whatever. I mean, but it's kind of like it's pretty much saying someone's pansexual because you'll pretty much fuck anybody. If the mood's right and the circumstances are right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
It depends on the
but
personality of that person, not anything to really do with their gender or sexuality.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's been kind of a slap in the face to my family who always assumed that I was gay and would probably die of AIDS. I had three cousins, from the time I was in elementary school to high school to my mom kicked me out of high school 6 months. My mom disowned me 6 months out of high school. And so from the time I was in elementary school, from the time I was in high school, that 12-year period, I had three cousins die of AIDS, three gay cousins die of AIDS. And
Wow.
so my whole family was really concerned that I would be next. And so
Wow.
that's why I was put in conversion therapy. That's why I was sent to these Pentecostal deacons, to straighten me out. And one of the things that they wanted to do is they wanted to send me to a brothel in Atlanta because Atlanta's known for Atlanta apparently is known for underground prostitution. And so they wanted to send me to this brothel in Atlanta that was known for, straightening out gay boys. It's in central Atlanta.
Wow.
And it would have been like a 10-hour car ride, you know what I mean? It would have cost probably $400.
So that you never went?
No, I never went. No, I
Oh, they
never
were.
went. But because my mother was concerned I'd get AIDS that way too. She was like, if he
Oh.
doesn't get AIDS, he'll get syphilis. He'll get syphilis. He'll get gonorrhea. He'll get something.
Well, why didn't she just say go use a condom?
I don't know. My mom was just concerned about. I was in high school, so my mom was my uncles. I had two uncles, straight uncles. One who recently died, who were really adamant about straightening me out. He can't get AIDS. He can't be gay. If he's gay, he's gonna get AIDS, and he's gonna die just like our nephews did. My uncles were saying this about my nephews and about their nephews, and so they were really concerned that I would end up like that, and I was concerned too. So that's why I always kind of
Because was that the
was.
time right before we had the advancements in medication?
Yeah, it was way before. It was way
Oh,
before. So
okay.
this is late '90s. This
Okay.
is late '90s. So yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it was
that makes
after a
sense.
lot of. So this is after AZT. This was after a lot of the more popular AIDS medications
Are they more
became
educated
more
now?
widely available.
Yeah. Are they
What's
more
that?
educated now and not scared for you?
No.
Oh no, they're
No.
still scared for you?
Well, they don't even talk to me anymore. I mean, I haven't spoken to my
Okay.
mother in five. I haven't spoken to my mother in 5 years.
You should just
Uh,
trick her and be like, "Mom, I'm straight. Can you talk to me?" I mean, why
That's not a
not?
bad
Like,
idea, but I wouldn't. I
yeah.
wouldn't do that. I mean, we.
Right, because it's
I think
still
me being gay was the catalyst, but I mean, it became bigger than me just being gay or straight. It was about how my mother decided that who I was at a very young age and what I would be and what my worth and value was. Because she wouldn't help me with college. I had to go through college on my own, because of that, because of, my mother thinking that I was gay. She just disowned me,
yeah.
and so it's bigger than that now. Like now it's like I don't, even if I were straight and got married to a woman, I wouldn't want her to come to the wedding. I wouldn't want her involved at all. And I feel that way about most of my family. Like I just don't want anything to do with them. But
Yeah, I
but yeah,
think
I mean, most of it had to do with my sexuality. Most of me being disowned and being ostracized from my family most of it had to do with my sexuality. You know, especially in high school.
yeah, I think the whole reason why there's these conservative culture wars is because they don't realize that life's not a zero sum game. Because
Right.
there's always the joke that like there's two kind of people in the world. Well, this time I'm not kidding. This is for real. So the two kinds of people in the world where I don't even think people think about what philosophy they fall under is that they either think or were taught subconsciously through osmosis society that either life's a zero sum game or there's enough to go around for everyone. And
Right.
obviously, I think the liberals fall more under, there's enough to go around for everybody. You don't have to knock somebody else out of the way with racism, sexism, homophobia in order to get more for you. But they think that that's what you need to do. And so
Right.
that's why
I
I think they they have those culture wars because they for some reason they think they're going to get a bigger slice if they knock everybody out of the way who's not a straight white
they
male.
do think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
And
do think
so,
that.
and that's why the insurrection happened because that's why they were all straight white males, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't get that they don't have to do that. Like, it's so weird, right? But I think also to go even bigger, that I think the universe created this problem to
Also,
the universe created all this as a cat. So any negativity, the universe created negativity as a catalyst for evolution, right? So
mhm.
if we didn't have fighting as humans and everything was just perfect, then we wouldn't evolve because I think negativity is the gym that our
Okay.
soul goes to work out in, right?
Okay.
At the end of the day, I think everybody should sleep well because
Yeah.
everything is working the way it's supposed to, and I think we're humans are supposed to go through this evolution and fight these culture wars because ultimately the irony is that the people who who are like the victims of this mentality, ultimately we're gonna benefit from it because we're gonna grow stronger, like what you were saying, like the trans people just have to grow a thick skin. Now I don't
Yeah.
think that we should, I wouldn't say that because that's then blaming the trans people and excusing the hate. But I get
Yeah, I
what
don't
you
see,
mean.
and we disagree on that. We disagree. We disagree.
No, I know, but
'Cause I don't think
right,
that there's no excuse. There's no excuse for hate. When I talk about growing a thick skin, it's accepting that there is hate. It's accepting that there is hate in the world,
yeah,
and
it's
so
true.
in order to survive and endure that kind of hatred, which you are going to get, you know, we don't live in this fantasy world where hatred just going to evaporate.
Right.
You know, you do need a thick skin. You know,
Yeah.
it takes that in order to survive and endure. And
Right.
that's what I meant about just having a thick skin, which I think
That's
you know a
actually
lot of
good
it.
that right, and that's good that we explained it now that way because when I hear things like that, then I just hear people excusing hate. But right, of
No,
course you're not trying to do
no,
that. It's just
no,
it's just what people choose to hear when they hear something.
right,
Right. It's
yeah,
not that the person meant it that way. And that's why I think we have to just be more articulate in terms of what we mean because people hear one thing and then they just
right,
choose what they want it to mean.
right,
And so I think that's good that we got down to, even though we disagree, we got down to basically we do agree on the base level
yes,
of we just have to accept that hate, that we have to deal with hate, and it's just about dealing with it in the healthiest way.
right.
And I think,
Now, do we still disagree about Dave Chappelle? Do we still disagree
oh,
that
the Dave Chappelle thing is that the premise of his jokes are that, see, because the thing is that why I think why we got down to the argument being whether it's a choice or not is because I think that if people think it's a choice, then I think that excuses their hate, I think, or their misunderstanding of what it means to be trans or whatever. And so whether it's a choice or not, I don't think it really matters. That shouldn't determine whether somebody thinks of somebody as subhuman or not. It should just be that all people deserve the same rights and equality, right? Obviously. And so whether it's a choice or not is really beside the point. It's just, I think when the premise of the joke is that it's a choice, like, oh, I'll I'll tell your father that she's a great person, or you know what I mean? The
Okay.
the premise that, it's some kind of either or, and it's just not just one thing that is the truth, is, I think, just kind of dismissive. And then it gives, like, Chappelle has to be cognizant that his premise is giving the haters an excuse. And I think he is cognizant of that, which is why I think he said he's going to stop talking about it. So I think that was a progress, right?
Okay. I think we disagree on that. I think that
Right. What do you
you
disagree with?
know him. Well, I think that him realizing that he wasn't really getting he wasn't really getting the kind of reaction, the kind of laughter that he wanted
Right.
when he was doing trans. First of all, I think he got kind of caught up on it. He got hung up on the whole idea of trans. I think it was Sticks and Stones, the special before this one, where he
Hmm.
got really hung up on the whole issue. Instead of so it became he became kind of fixated on it. And so I think when he came into the closer, it was really like, okay, he said it. He's like, okay, I'm really gonna go there this time. I'm really gonna say it.
Hmm.
And instead of it being like a natural, organic part of his set, that was like, okay, I'm really gonna say, I'm really gonna make these jokes. I'm gonna say this thing. And that kind of got to me. Like that kind of was like, well, just tell your jokes. Just tell your,
Yeah.
because I don't have trans material. I mean, I really should be writing some trans jokes. I mean, I have one trans joke. I talk about how in the Bronx, I said in the Bronx, trans prostitutes walk up to me and offer me their services. I say, who knew you could get your balls licked and your nails done for $20 by a trans girl, in the
Okay.
Bronx? And so I talk about, but that's a real thing in the Bronx. Like girls were like, if they don't, if you don't want sex, they'll offer to do your nails. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
wow.
that. Yeah, that's a real thing here in the
They'll
Bronx.
just
So
basically do whatever it takes to make some money, right?
right, yeah. So I mean, so that's a real thing in the Bronx. So I mean, that's like one of my jokes. So I mean, I can talk about trans interactions and trans people in a way that's not marginalizing them or putting them down. And I wish I
Yeah.
wish that Dave Chappelle would have kind of had
Tried to
that
do
sort of
that.
that ear, that idea of like, okay, I'm not putting you down. I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which
Because
I
I was
think
really
is what
coming up.
he thought he was doing, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I think he thought I don't understand this. I'm still learning, but I'm not getting where I want to get, so I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. I think that was the conclusion that he came to, unfortunately, because I think there was a lot more for him to say, about. He had a really funny joke about which I think was true, about how he really likes like the old school gays, how the new gays are
Yeah.
really brittle. They're really brittle. They love this cancel culture shit,
Right.
and they're
They're
really
going to the
fragile.
they're getting
Yeah,
extreme, yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that like he was really like on point about how like the old Stonewall gays, like those are tough gays, and I
Yeah.
think that's true. Like like the older generations of gay people that maybe like are 10 to 20 years older than us. Those are tough gays. You know what I mean? Like they had to deal with a lot of shit that luckily our generation hasn't had to deal with. We stand on their shoulders,
And I don't
as
yeah.
LGBT as LGBTQ people, and so I think that's really important that
Well, what I think is interesting is I don't think that the old school gays wouldn't have wanted to cancel people. If they could have canceled people, I'm sure some of them would have, but it's just that
yeah,
wasn't in the culture yet. Do you know what I
right,
mean? They came from a culture of, oh, we just have to let them grow and have redemption, damn it.
But
Do you know what I
again,
mean? Like,
you know, a lot of what they were, a lot of what I'm talking about is just the idea that they were thicker skinned. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So they were
because they had to be. It was a matter of
they had
survival.
to be.
Yeah.
They had
Like
to
there was no
survive, and they had
choice. Right.
right. And it's interesting because I kind of feel as far as the LGBTQ community goes, it's the trans who have the thickest skin. You know, a lot of the
Well,
lesbians and
yeah.
gays and bisexuals and everyone else in that acronym in those letters, you know, it's the trans who really have to have the thickest skin because they're up against the most. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
And
so it's a
so
matter of survive or not.
right, and
Yeah. Yeah.
endure. You know,
So can I ask you if then maybe let me explain something and then I'll see if you agreed with Dave Chappelle's premise of the joke from Sticks and Stones, where he was comparing the choice of being trans with the choice of being Chinese or not. Remember that joke? That was
oh
the
yeah,
one that was
we
the
talked
one
about
joke.
this. We
Right,
talked
but
about this.
that was the one joke from Sticks and Stones that everybody kind of jumped on because you know you're conflating because you even said that you shouldn't conflate racism with homophobia or transphobia because it's two different things.
They're two
But
different
then
things.
the thing is Dave is conflating those two things. So philosophically, even you disagree with the premise of that joke, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. But I don't think that was his point. I don't think he was comparing apples and oranges. I think that
What do you
he was
mean? Yes, he was.
he was as a black man. I think a lot of the from the that comes from the LGBTQ people is that we were born this way. You
Hmm.
know, and so as a black man, he's looking at it as a black man where he was like, okay, I was born black, I wasn't born straight, or I wasn't born gay. You know what I mean? So I think he was looking at it as black men tend to do, as okay, well, if I decide that I want to be a woman, then you know he was looking at it like that, like you know how okay, if she wants to decide to be a woman, then fine, I'll be Chinese. Which doesn't make sense, but I mean, it doesn't make sense how I
Right.
described it. But I mean, that has to go back to that. I do agree with you that he was it was a conflation. I agree that it
And
was a
that's why people
conflation.
didn't like the joke because it's offensive. Right?
That I agree with that, but I still thought it was funny. I mean,
I
I
know
still
that's
thought it
what
was a
was so
funny
weird
idea.
is that he says it in a funny way, but that's kind of the danger because people think that funny then means correct, right? And that's kind of dangerous. So people excuse it because it's funny, but that's exactly why you shouldn't confuse um excuse it because it's funny. The funny is what makes it dangerous because people think funny means correct, and that's not necessarily true, right?
Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because a
I'll let
racist
you have
person
that.
will always laugh
I'll
at a
let you have
racist
that.
joke, right? Because a racist person will always laugh at a racist joke. It doesn't mean racism is then correct just because it's funny, right?
Okay.
And so the
Okay.
thing is that's why it sucks that this is Dave Chappelle because we really respect and love Dave Chappelle. But then it's like,
Right.
how is he so dumb on this one issue, right? Like that's what's so crazy. That and so it's like you have this untouchable comedian, but then he's saying something that is touchable, you know? And
Right.
that's, I think, the thing that people can't wrap their head around, you know? Like they can't have those two thoughts in their head at the same
In
time.
their head at the same time. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know,
I'll let you have that one. I'll let you have that one. I mean,
okay, thanks.
I can't articulate that route. I mean, because I can see where Dave was coming from, and I'd have to watch that special again to really, you know, the whole Chinese thing. And I'd have to watch that again because I can remember when we talked about it that I agreed with Dave Chappelle with the idea that you know, okay, if this man wants to become a woman, then fine, I want to be Chinese. You know what I mean? And I can remember thinking, okay, that's really funny, and I can remember agreeing with him. But I also agree with you that those are conflations of two different things. So I mean, I'll give you that one. I'll just give you that one. You can have that one.
Now I'm thinking of what would have been funnier if he says, but I can't be Chinese, so instead I just married an Asian woman.
Which he did. Which he did do. He did do that. He is.
Oh, he did say that?
No, but he's married to an Asian woman, so he did.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why it would have been funny.
Yeah, that would have been funny. I agree.
But well, now I don't remember. Maybe if we go back and watch it, maybe he did make that joke. What?
Did you watch? Have you seen Stunted?
No. What's that?
Okay, so Dave Chappelle did this, like, he did like it's on YouTube. It's called Stunted. It's like the 6-minute set that Dave Chappelle did, where he said that Hannah Gatsby wasn't funny. Do you remember him talking about that?
Oh no! Oh, that was his response to what she said. So that was recent, then, right?
Well, it was a general response to the controversy in general.
Okay, I should see that.
He called. I think you've seen it. It was called Stunted, and he said that it was one of the things he said was that Hannah Gatsby wasn't funny, and I don't think she's funny either. But but he was talking about the controversy, and he was talking about how he wouldn't be summoned. Like he would have to agree to the time and the place to talk to the trans people about this issue, and he would have to agree to he would set the parameters, about the conversation, and it wouldn't be something that that only the trans folks would be able to dictate. But he did respond. He did respond to the controversy, and I thought his response was really good.
Yeah. But like the idea that he would have to set the parameters, I think, is very telling that deep down he kind of knows he might be guilty of something. If otherwise, why would you need parameters if you're innocent, right?
Well, I think he doesn't want to be railroaded. I think in the court, in the minds of these people, he's already guilty. And so,
right. So then
if he's going to be presumed guilty.
Right. So then just stop thinking in ways that make you guilty. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't matter, but but whatever. It doesn't matter. It all matters that everybody, if they were accepted for who they are, then we wouldn't have any problems. Basically, I thought of this rhyme. If it wasn't for the hate, we wouldn't have to debate.
That's funny. That's clever.
But,
that's clever.
Yeah. So I think, so I'll watch that Dave Chappelle thing. That must have been recent because I think that
it was recent. It's called Stunted. What do you think of racism within the gay community?
Yeah, I don't understand how people compartmentalize
I don't get it.
Their hate. It's like it's all the same in terms of I don't get how people can be racist but then not homophobic. It's like you should understand that people are not being accepted for who they are. So if you're against one hate, you should be against them all. You shouldn't be able to pick and choose your hate, right?
You should be. Someone told me recently. I was in Vermont, and I was at I was at a very gay event. So I can't really talk about it, but I mean, so someone said to me, I was with a black guy, another gay black guy, and he said, "Oh, I'm a twink," and they said no, and these two white guys said, "No, you're too dark skinned to be a twink." Yes, yes.
What? That doesn't make any sense. It's about being skinny, right?
Listen. These are two white guys. Who said to this black guy, "You're too." Now I guess I'm a bear because I'm fat, but I mean, I don't really consider myself to be a bear because I'm just not in that culture, so I don't consider myself. I mean, I've been called a bear by boyfriends and things like that, but I mean, but I swear to you, and my mouth was like.
Well, wait,
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe it.
But you can't say that person's not a twink and that you're not a bear. You can't You can't have it both ways. Like, what do you mean? But
No,
whatever.
no. I mean, I don't consider myself to be a bear, but this black
Do
guy
you
that I
mean
was.
that you're not into bears? That's what you mean, right? You're not into other
No,
bears.
no, I actually am into bears. But what I'm saying is that I just don't consider myself to be a bear. I mean, other people, because of my size, consider me to be a
But it's
bear.
not for you
But
to
I mean, I
decide.
oh, okay. Well, maybe
Just
it's
like we're
not.
saying, it's
Maybe it's
not
not.
for those two white guys to decide that the black guy wasn't a twink, right? It's not for them to decide. That's what we're laughing about, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that's what makes it hilarious is
But
that,
that's the kind of racism. But that's the kind of racism that I'm talking about. Within like racism within the gay culture.
right. And I
That
bet those two white
I'm
guys
really.
would consider themselves not racist. Well, guess what, white guys? It's not for you to decide. You said something racist. You're trying to define something on race that has nothing to do with race. Being a twink has
Right.
nothing to do with race. So if they were to say, "Oh, but I'm not racist," well, that's not for you to decide because you just said something racist.
Right. Yeah.
So
So
that's
we
what
agree.
that's what is so hilarious is that people want things both ways.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's not the definition, and you can't change the definition of a word, you know.
Right.
So I think that's kind of funny, but
Yeah, it is funny. But I mean, I see that kind of racism. One of the reasons why I'm not a part of gay culture and why I stayed away from gay bars, in the 20 years that I lived in
Mhm.
New York, well, 17 years I lived in New York, was because I saw a lot of that kind of racism of like, you're
Right.
black, so you're excluded because of your skin color. You're not one of us because of your skin color. So I stayed away from gay bars and gay culture mainly because of that reason. Because I didn't,
Yeah.
it's hard enough just to be black, but to be
Yeah.
black and gay and be excluded from your own community,
I know.
forget it. Forget
I
it.
know, but then in a
I wanted no
liberal,
part of it.
yeah, but in a liberal society, there has to be gay bars that are not racist, right? Like,
I hope so. I just haven't seen one.
oh
I
man,
haven't seen
that's
one.
bad.
That
Wow.
is bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Isn't there somewhere where there is like gay bars that are more predominantly people of color gay bars?
There was. I remember when I first
There
moved here.
was?
There was a gay bar when I first moved here called Chi Chi's. It was on Christopher Street, and
Okay.
it got closed down. I don't know why, but it closed down, and it was like. But the bad part about that bar was that it kept other people out. Like I mean, like it
Oh,
like white gays weren't allowed in. If you were a white gay, you weren't allowed in.
wow.
And if you were a black gay, you weren't welcomed in any of the other bars. So I mean, if you so because there was this one black gay bar, it was like you can go to like the hangar. You can go to
Oh yeah,
trying to think of some of the
The hangar is
the
still there.
hangar.
The
The
hangar is still
hangar's still
there.
there.
Yeah. And you're right.
So when
That
Chi
is
Chi's, okay, so when Chi Chi's was there, you couldn't go into the hang. You could go into the hangar, but they wouldn't serve you. They wouldn't talk to you. Yeah, that's how it
see, that's
was.
interesting because it's like if a white person goes into a bar that's predominantly people of color, wouldn't they realize, oh, this is an ally. We should be nice to them, right? That's kind of crazy because
Uh,
they're not being nice to the one white peoples that they should be nice to because they're obviously allies if they are going to go into that place, don't you think?
uh, I
Like,
would
why would
think
a
so,
hater go
but
in there? I don't know. Sorry, what?
no, I agree with you.
But yeah, that's,
I
I don't know,
agree.
it's very interesting because that's the problem with, I think, a lot of this is that there's not enough allies in the world, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
always in their corner of their demographic, and there's not enough allies mixing in. And I think that is part of the solution.
yeah, I think so too.
People shouldn't think one way just because they're of that demographic. See, because it's like you always see, right, there's like white gay people that are only for other white gay people, and they're not for
Right.
other They're not for straight people of color, right? They're just for their demographic because they happen to be that demographic. That to me is really ignorant and sad, obviously.
I agree. I
And
agree.
so people just have to learn to be more ally oriented.
I agree.
So, but I don't know. I think that's a good, yeah.
I think that's what the A in the LGBTQ stands for. It stands for ally, I
Oh, yeah.
believe.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't know.
No, yeah, I
I
think that's true. But that's good that they gave him a letter.
Yeah, it is
That was
good.
very ally of them.
Very ally. I
Yeah.
agree.
But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this is a good place to stop, and this I think was an awesome podcast. So thanks for
Okay, yeah, it was great. It was. I was hoping we wouldn't argue. That was my big thing.
yeah. Well,
Was
no,
that
I
we?
knew
Of
it.
course, I look huge.
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself. I look huge on camera, but whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, it looks good. No, I think we covered a lot of stuff and had a good discussion. But no, I knew we weren't gonna fight because it's like we're just having a
We agreed to
conversation
it.
about our beliefs, and it shouldn't be personal, like
Right, I agree. So
yeah.
we agree on so much. We agree on so
No,
much that I
yeah,
think our disagreements are so minuscule
yeah,
to
yeah.
where we agree on so much and we're so much like-minded. By the way, I see Pulp Fiction. I can't find this movie anywhere. Pulp Fiction.
Um,
I
on Blu-ray, you mean?
Yeah, I see it. I see Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction. I want that movie.
yeah, yeah.
I can't
It's
find
on
it anywhere.
Blu-ray. You can
Yeah, I
get
can't
it
find it anywhere.
on Amazon. Yeah, you can. Oh, you mean streaming or
Right.
physical?
Physical.
Oh no,
Physical
you
or
should be able to buy it on eBay, even if you have to buy it used. I mean, that has to be one of the most printed movies out there. Like, what do you mean you can't find it?
it's hard to find. It was hard to find for a while.
Maybe
It might be on Amazon now, but I
maybe it's
mean,
because everybody is cherishing their copy.
yeah, I think so too. I think
Yeah.
so too.
But no, I mean, if you look, you should be able to get it. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, it was good talking to you.
yeah, it was awesome. Thanks. Signing off. Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Uh,
listening. Check us
Thank
out
you.
on our social media, Rhett Sever, and then you can say yours.
I am James Sandos Metz on Instagram.
All right, cool.
Come find me. I'm there.
All right. So have a good night. Thanks, James.
All right. Bye.